is 9/11 Freefall.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of 9/11 Freefall. I'm the host, Andy Steele. Les Jamieson is the guest again tonight, and he's going to be talking about the 28 pages. The 28 pages of redacted information about 9/11 that the government is keeping from you, and what he and others are doing to get it released. And we even have some congressmen involved in pushing for this, so you'll be hearing about that tonight and how all of you out there in the listening audience can help. I'm going to play that interview for you in just a few moments. Before I do, however, we're going to do what we do every week. We're going to take 10 seconds of silence to remember the victims of 9/11 and their families and all the people who died in the wars that followed 9/11. We're going to do that beginning now. And that is 10 seconds. Les Jamieson is an activist out of New York City. He's the Superman of 9/11 truth, in my opinion. He was there during some of the 9/11 Commission hearings. He's done a lot of work with NYC CAN and with AE 9/11 Truth. Les, welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much, Andy. Great to be with you.
So, Les, the 28 pages. For people who are new to this issue, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your group trying to get brought to the public's attention?
Sure. Actually, prior to the 9/11 investigation, there was this initial investigation into what occurred in 9/11 that resulted in a report that was released in 2002. Okay, and it was called the Joint Inquiry into Intelligence Community Activities Before and After the Terrorist Attacks of September 11th, 2001. This report was, I think, 862 pages, and former Senator Robert Graham and Porter Goss were the co-chairs of this committee, and it was a joint inquiry having members of both the House and the Senate on the commission at that point. Now, again, this is prior to the 9/11 Commission. So it's not well understood. It hasn't been covered nearly as much. However, there was a chapter in that report called Foreign Financing and Logistical Support for 9/11 Hijackers. It's a 28-page chapter that was, first it was redacted, in other words, blacked out completely by the Bush administration. Again, this is back in 2002. And of course, everybody remembers that there was an evacuation of Saudi monarchy members that were living here in the U.S., Saudi nationals, including 40 bin Laden family members. And then on the coattails of that, the Bush administration completely removed this chapter about funding, which, according to Robert Graham, of course, who has seen these 28 pages, had a lot of information in there regarding funding sources that were traceable to some Saudi monarchy. And so all these years, this information has been kept secret to the American public, and yet the cause given for the secrecy was that this was somehow a threat to national security, which is like the standard knee-jerk justification for removing information and putting it into secrecy. So now we're going to fast forward here to December of 2013, a congressman from North Carolina, Walter Jones, Republican, had recently read the novel written by Robert Graham called Keys to the Kingdom, in which he used fiction as a form, or as a way of trying to reveal what he knew about this policy of secrecy and, various signs here that this plot that occurred in 9/11 was very nefarious, and key information has been kept from the public all these years that should have been released. So Graham read the novel, and he was prompted that he should then get access to those 28 pages to see what was in them. So that's what he did. He made several attempts. It didn't happen all at once, but he finally did get access. And out of that, he was completely shocked and shaken, to the point where he introduced this resolution. At that point, it was 428, HRES 428. This is in December of 2013. Now, interestingly, this issue has been kept alive by Graham, Robert Graham, all these years. He's made many efforts. He's given interviews. He's also made FOIA requests to have this released. Also, by the way, 9/11 family members have been very, very strong in demanding that they be released all these years. They have launched a major lawsuit against the Saudi government. This is very serious. Of course, these people who lost loved ones, who perished in 9/11, as part of the investigation to explain how these attacks could have occurred and who was responsible, involves funding. And here's some evidence that has been kept from the public all these years. So there's been a major lawsuit against the Saudi government by many 9/11 families. So they have also been pursuing this information. And in 2008, when Barack Obama ran for president, family members approached him demanding that they be released. And guess what? He said yes, he would release those pages. So that was in 2008. And to this day, they have not been released. He's been basically stonewalling. He's gone silent on it. So this resolution, which is now, by the way, HR 14, that was due to the new Congress that just opened, open session here in January. They have to resubmit all the resolutions, and they get new numbers. So now it's HR 14, and you can read all about this at hr14.org, by the way. This effort is moving forward. There was a press conference in Washington at the Capitol on January the 7th, just almost a month ago here. And at the press conference, there was an awful lot of media, major media there, and a room full of people, some family members who spoke, and of course Robert Graham was there, and Walter Jones, and co-sponsor Stephen Lynch, who's a Democrat. So this is a bipartisan legislation. And so this effort is moving forward. Now, this came across my radar screen back in August of last year. A 9/11 survivor of the South Tower attack by the name of Rick DeSantis first told me about it. I had not heard of it prior to that, and it was quite astounding. As I looked into it, I saw that, wow, there's a real opportunity here that if this legislation moves forward, first it's going to get some good media attention, and sure enough, there's been coverage on CNN. There's been an article in the New Yorker magazine. There's been coverage by the website whowhatwhy.com. That's Russ Baker's website, whowhatwhy.com, and other sources have written about this. And if this gets more coverage, which it would if this resolution moves forward in Congress, it's all to the benefit of the entire alternative research community that's been working so hard for all these years. And many efforts, by the way, have occurred over these years to get some type of activity at the political level, the legislative level. Well, here it is. And, what we have an opportunity and I believe a responsibility to do here, all people in this community, is to use this as an opportunity to lobby our legislators, lobby our members of Congress, and then the Senate as well, which I'll speak about in a minute, to, number one, to read the 28 pages. They have access to these classified documents. So all they have to do is submit a request for the House Intelligence Committee. They need to then read the 28 pages and then co-sponsor the resolution. That's 2. And 3, work for its passage. And that will involve an effort to lobby the Speaker of the House to bring it to the floor for a vote. This is very important for a whole myriad of reasons. And those 3 reasons are very important. First of all, when they read the 28 pages, this is what Robert Massey said. It was shocking as he was reading the pages. It required him to rethink everything. All right, that was a pretty strong word. And in the previous Congress, up to 20 congressmen did co-sponsor the resolution. Out of the 20, 18 actually did read the 28 pages, and that alone caused them to really have a whole different view of all these years of official narrative of 9/11. This is very important for so many reasons, because our military policy abroad has all been, of course, predicated on the events of 9/11, the invasion of so many countries in the U.S. in the Middle East by the U.S. and allies, NATO allies, all predicated on 9/11. This war without end is predicated on 9/11, and just that alone, take into account all the ramifications, the cost in human lives, the cost of trillions of dollars of treasury, and just the cost of war, devastation on the planet. And what about too the ramifications of 9/11 when it comes to our policies at home, our domestic policies that resulted in this surveillance state that we're in, this police state that we're in, with the militarization of police all over the country, and of course the shredding of cherished civil liberties here, all under the pretense or the pretext of the events of 9/11. So the release of these 28 pages, Andy, I'm going by statements coming from Robert Graham and Walter Jones, that this could bring into question the entire justification of this, quote, global war on terror. And of course, things such as, the legislation that has undermined civil liberties and shredded the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And here's another major reason that we need to get behind it, learn about it, and support the very simple actions that we're asking for, which is all found at hr14.org. Guess what? In June of this coming year, 2015, the Patriot Act is up for renewal. So can you imagine if we advance this cause to release 28 pages, more Congress people and senators read the 28 pages and begin to realize that we've been completely misled and deceived about 9/11, which the Patriot Act is founded on. The Patriot Act is a direct result. Remember, 6 weeks after 9/11, the Patriot Act was just passed through Congress with hardly anyone reading it. This is an outrage. So I would appeal to everybody hearing this. This upcoming and imminent renewal of the Patriot Act is another reason to support the actions here at hr14.org, which, by the way, are very simple. We have a web form where all you do is put in your zip code, and automatically a letter will be generated to go to your member of Congress that will lobby them and urge them to read the 28 pages, co-sponsor the resolution, and work for the passage of this resolution. Very, very important.
Well, there's so many reasons to hulk out and work hard for this issue. I know, listening to you, that I'm excited right now. I'm going to do all the work that's on your page. And like you were mentioning a minute ago, it really doesn't require a lot of work, folks. And one of the things that you're asking congressmen to do is simply sit down and read these 28 pages. And I was watching an interview that Ron Paul did with Walter Jones to prep for this interview today, and it fascinates me how much work and security clearance and hoops these guys have to jump through just to be able to get access to these 28 pages. And while listening to you talk about this and how they were able to keep this under lock and key for so long, I'm just baffled by why anybody in our government allowed the president to keep this under lock and key. The presidency has the power that it does. It was given the power that it has to do mainly one job in the beginning of this country, was to protect the country from any kind of threat to our national security, all right? And I just find it hilarious when people think that bringing in the Bushes somehow will make us more safe on a national security level. And it overlooks the fact that, forget about what we talk about every week on this show. Forget about the evidence of controlled demolition. Forget about all the stuff that Wayne Madsen talked about when he was on the show. Forget all the stuff Les is talking about. Let's just say we're just dead wrong. We're all wasting our time here, and the official story is correct. We'll just drink that Kool-Aid for just a moment here. All right? Even if you're going from an official story perspective, Bush didn't make us any more safe. We got attacked under him. All right? If anything, he made us less safe. He screwed up. He failed miserably. All right? We were less safe because this person took his eye off the ball. So, given that the president failed to do his most important job duty, his most important function of his position here, he has no right to be classifying anything. If anything else, everything that he did, every correspondence, every single piece of intelligence that should have been used to protect us should be laid bare for the American public to see. All right, if you hired a security guard to protect your facility and then somebody broke in and stole millions of dollars worth of stuff, you don't let that security guard keep the videotape classified on what he was doing, any video surveillance, showing that he might have been asleep at the desk. You basically put him before HR and determine whether or not you want to keep this guy as your security guard. So the president has no right to be classifying anything, in particular to members of Congress, and making them jump through all of these hoops.
Right. Very, very good point and insights, Andy. Can you imagine if the public wakes up here and starts to just ask the question, why did he classify this evidence in the first place when it had key information about funding and more points in there about also, according to Bob Graham, information about U.S. agencies that were not, were not very beneficial to their standing, the public. Okay, so why would they do this when these? You're right. It's the job of the president to protect the public and to take action if certain U.S. agencies have not done their job, right? You take action. But no such actions were taken against any U.S. agencies that had a role, or whether it's collusion or failure or incompetence or whatever. None. So the question must be asked, why has this information been kept secret? And the reason is going to come out that there's a protection racket here that probably goes back to the Bush family Saudi relationship, which was depicted in the book written by Craig Unger called House of Bush, House of Saud, where they've been doing business going back to the 1970s that involved everything from airplane parts to real estate. And of course, we know the U.S. military-industrial complex has provided the Saudi kingdom with billions and billions of dollars worth of military hardware and support in armaments. So this goes very, very deep, very, very deep, and we need to work to expose this criminality, this very incestuous relationship that has more to do with business and U.S. geopolitical strategy than anything else. There's no reason here. As a matter of fact, according to Robert Graham and Walter Jones and Stephen Lynch, that in terms of this excuse of national security concerns, the opposite is true. They're stating that U.S. national security is actually in greater jeopardy by not having the release of the 28 pages. And Robert Graham has stated that had those 28 pages been released, there would be no ISIS. Now, what that means is that there's evidence all over the place of funding by these insurgent mercenary armies over the Middle East coming from the Saudi royal monarchy, as well as, I believe, the Arab Emirates and as well as Qatar. You know, so there's an awful lot of very deep, dark, criminal and bizarre activity going on when it comes to these countries in the Middle East that we have very little understanding of. But if we were to dig into the relationship of the Bush family and their strategy and their relationship with those countries, an awful lot would unravel. So this is very important. By the way, I'm sorry about this background noise here. I'm in New York City, and
that's okay. I thought they were coming after you for a minute. But I'm kidding, of course. No, everything that Les is saying is absolutely true. Folks, look, one of the reasons that I've heard, I'm not a constitutional scholar, but one of the reasons I heard cited once, and it makes sense, that they want to have the president be a natural-born citizen, is that back in the medieval times, you would have all these kings and queens who would come to power, but they would have cousins that were the kings of other countries, and they'd all be interrelated, and so if their family is embedded in other countries, they may not have a loyalty to the United States. Now, the Bushes aren't necessarily blood related to the Saudi family. However, they have a very close relationship to the point where I've heard that they've referred to members of the Saudi family, like Bandar Bush, is like almost being like they are blood related. I mean, I know they're not, but they kind of talk about each other like they are. They're very close. So it does seem like there's a conflict of interest, that if there was some kind of other foreign involvement in 9/11 beyond what was acknowledged in the official story, all right, these are the kinds of things that we need to be looking at in our president. What kind of relationships does he have with these governments? And I want to ask you, beyond just a blanket statement about national security, we can't release it because of national security, do they go any deeper than that? I mean, is there actually a specific reason that they say for why they need to keep this information from the American public?
No. The answer is no. There is no specific reason given. And yet, members who were part of that joint inquiry, they were interviewed by mainstream media and wound up having to kind of apologize. They were very, very embarrassed about this information being made secret, classified. They were making statements. I'm talking about Robert Graham and Shelby. Was his name Dick Shelby, I believe, was another one. He also made the statement that there was information in there that was embarrassing to our friends. So figure that one out, folks. That this information that should have never been classified, should be declassified and released just for the purpose of, quote, transparency in this age of state surveillance, right, where, you know, the entire public has nothing secret. There's no privacy, yet our government can make secret an entire chapter of an official report about the attacks of 9/11 on our country. Come on, that just does not equate to anything consistent here whatsoever. So the fact that they are hiding embarrassing information that would embarrass, quote, friends, how are Saudi monarchs, who are repressive dictators, basically, how are they the friends of the American public? Well, they're not. If anything, they're guilty of many, many violations of human rights. They currently behead people multiple times a week in the public square, stone people to death. Of course, they've been having the world in a stranglehold based on their production of oil and domination of OPEC for decades now, until very recently. And now they have kind of the world in a different type of stranglehold by the way their oil policy and pricing policy is now, where they're driving many smaller oil producers out of business so they can redominate, essentially. So why are Saudi monarchs our friends, right? But that's the reason given.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because the Saudi family's not my friend. I don't even know them. I don't even care about them. And this is a murder investigation. You know, what's embarrassing to me has nothing to do with, you know, what's embarrassing to the Saudi Arabians. What's embarrassing to me, for instance, we act like this person that we elect for, or supposedly elect for 4 to 8 years, is some kind of royalty, and we just, you know, we need to step so lightly around them. Well, no, they're an employee working for us, and I hope that the movement, in some way, if we can accomplish anything, is to bring down this awe that people feel about the president. And people think that sounds bad, that you're plotting against the government or something. No, what it does is it brings people back down to the level that they need to be on, the level that the president was supposed to be on, and reminds the public that this is just a guy. This is just somebody that is an employee of us, taking our orders, taking our marching orders. The president does not have a right to classify something based off of embarrassing personal friends of his. I mean, try making that argument at the job where you work. Does anybody worry about embarrassing you when you supposedly screwed up so badly? I don't think so. Why should it apply to the president? And something that impressed me as I researched this, the numbers of congressmen that seem to be involved and interested in this. Can you go a little bit into that? I mean, can you drop some names of some, I mean, I know they're out there on the internet, but can you, for our audience, drop some of the names of the people that have signed on and want to have this declassified?
Well, sure. Alan Grayson signed on. Mark Pocan of, I believe it's Wisconsin or Minnesota, is it? Wisconsin, I believe. Of course, Steve Lynch of Massachusetts, Thomas Massey, I believe he's Rhode Island. And previously, there were many more who now have to, with a new resolution, which is now 14, they have to re-sign on, and that included Keith Ellison, Jim McGovern of Massachusetts, and there's a list on hr14.org, actually, that has them all there. And going forward, Andy, this is very important. See, what we're looking at, and I mean, there's a team of us who are behind this website and this effort. We have conference calls every week or every other week now, and what we're looking at is mobilizing from the grassroots. By the way, we're the support of architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth and many others around the research community. What we're attempting to do is urge people to just go to the website, take the simple action of submitting a letter to Congress, also arranging to meet with your Congress member, take them some articles and urge them to get informed about the 28 pages and support the resolution. This is Civics 101. This is something that we can easily do, especially after all these years. So many people spent thousands of hours researching 9/11. Spending time on the internet, looking at videos and going to events and so forth. We're actually going to take literally minutes to submit a letter to your Congress member, then also maybe an hour to set up a meeting, and also to collaborate with us. You can contact us through the website at hr14.org. Be in the conversation. Let us know of your experiences. This is what we're asking. And it's just, again, the importance, it just increases week by week here. I want to list another major reason to get behind this, which is the impending trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 5 others in Guantanamo Bay through the Military Commissions Court. Astonishingly, that even though it's public knowledge that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was waterboarded 183 times, the Justice Department has been pushing for this show trial to take place. And wow, this is just astonishing, because anybody with even a minimal amount of legal understanding knowledge is that the evidence under torture or duress or anything close to that is inadmissible. But they're moving forward anyway. What is going on here? So this is something where we have to raise this issue that's in the 28 pages, that we have been deceived, we've been lied to, that there is anything, there's been cover-up, collusion. Robert Graham himself used the words cover-up at the January 7th press conference. So we need to get preemptive here, and as a research community, we need to step up. We need to basically see, are we diluting ourselves here, or can we be a political voice? Can we show that we are a political constituency that this government needs to pay attention to? Okay, now, this needs to be really clearly understood. And the only way to reach this point is with numbers of people, many people participating. Because if a few people, a couple of dozen people from around the country take action, fine, but that's not going to get their attention. This was going to get their attention when a dozen people or more, 50 people within a state or a district start to contact their Congress members saying, hey, there's this resolution, H.R. 14. We're urging you to learn about it, gain access to the 28 pages, co-sponsor the bill, and work for its passage. Why? 3 reasons. For the cause of transparency in government, because the 9/11 families should not be deprived of this information, either should the public, and because doing so, release of the 28 pages, which will actually be a benefit to having a clear, effective, and truthful policy on national security. That's it. That's simple. So I hope that people will really seriously become part of this effort. We don't have a lot of time, okay? Because I just know it. I know it in my bones. I've been around this information and this movement for so long here. I can see what's going on with this attempt to prosecute Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 5 others for 9/11. You know what they're after? The government, the Justice Department is after? They want to close the book. They want to close the case on 9/11. Say, see, we conducted this trial. We put forth evidence here, and what we came up with was conclusive proof of who was 9/11, who was behind it, who masterminded 9/11, and we got our indictment, and that's it. That's what they're after. And now then they'll say the book is closed. That's it. Okay. So also I want to give the public one more interesting reason to get behind these 28 pages. There's a presidential election coming up in 2 years, and interestingly, we have another Bush running for president, Jeb Bush. So, how can this be? I mean, he's part of this family. He's part of this whole dynasty that literally goes back many, many decades. And many of us know about Prescott Bush and that whole chapter where he aided and abetted the Nazi efforts, war efforts during World War II. But then George Bush Sr., right, H. Herbert Bush. You got to remember, he goes back to activities that are deep state activities back into the 1960s with the Zapata oil, and of course spent time in the CIA, became head of the CIA, and on with him. And of course, again, going back to a very questionable relationship with the Saudi government, Saudi monarchs going back to the 1970s, etc. Jeb Bush, now running for president, this calls into question many, many things, because a lot of activities took place in Florida in relation to these alleged hijackers.
And also, great minds think alike, because I was going to ask you about this, how much, because it does seem there is a push to put Jeb Bush into the White House, at least on the Republicans' side, and I was going to ask you how much this would affect our ability to get things done. Maybe it wouldn't make any difference, but given the fact that 9/11 happened underneath what would be the future president's brother, it seems like there wouldn't be much energy to reinvestigate that under that administration. So, I mean, you basically laid it out right there.
Right. He needs to, if he wins, do you think he would reveal this information of what his family members have participated in? No.
Well, and that gets to another question I wanted to ask you, because Walter Jones made a mention in his Ron Paul interview that the president doesn't need to sign off on this, whoever it is, Obama or Bush. How does that work? How does a Senate resolution work?
Okay, in the Senate, when they draft legislation, it's a bill. It's called a Senate bill. They can work to get co-sponsors, and they can bring it to the House. Bring it to the floor for a vote separately. So they have their own process of creating law and legislation. Then the House, when they draft legislation, it's called the resolution. And they go through this process similarly, where they gain co-sponsors and try to gain support, and then hopefully are able to lobby the Speaker of the House to allow it to come to the floor for a vote. That's going to be a whole other challenge. So that's the way the process works. Now, interestingly, I'm glad you brought this up, Andy, because as it turns out, both the House and the Senate can work on similar legislation in parallel at the same time. So H.R. 14 is now in place in the House, but the Senate could also draft its own legislation to release the 28 pages. Imagine if that were to happen. Now, currently, Bob Graham, and he spoke about this at the January 7th press conference, Bob Graham is trying to contact members of the Senate to do this exact thing, to draft a bill to release the 28 pages. So what we're going to work to do is also lobby our senators to read the 28 pages and draft the bill. Now, part of this whole aspect of actions in the Senate, back in 2003, 46 senators signed a letter lobbying President Bush to release those 28 pages. Those 46 senators against, this is 46 out of what? There's 100 senators, right? 100 members in the Senate. And 46 of them were against the classification of this chapter. And guess who some of those members were? John Kerry, who is now Secretary of State, Hillary Rodham Clinton, who was then Senator of New York, Chuck Schumer, currently Senator of New York, and we'll get to the rest of those. I don't have them at my fingertips here, but there are many who are still in the Senate. Dick Durbin was another one. So if that occurred back in 2003, I think we need to revive this effort, absolutely. And before we run out of time, Andy, I just want to list a few more reasons, or I should say points that can emanate out of the release of these 28 pages and the whole process. It's very important that people understand this. Because it's not just about what's in those 28 pages. There is belief that that is just the starting point, that much more will unravel. So here are, by the way, co-chairman of the 9/11 Commission, both Tom Keene and Lee Hamilton are in favor of the release of the 28 pages. So official members of the official investigation favor their release. And Tom Keene is on record also saying that he doesn't believe anything should be classified. So what does that mean? Then let's get the classified testimony of Sibel Edmonds and William Rodriguez and anything else that's been declassified about 9/11. Okay, how about that? That we could press for. The issue that regarding funding, while we're talking about funding in 9/11, what about the transfer of $100,000 to Mohammed Atta by the head of Pakistani intelligence, ISI? What about the clear warnings from as many as 11 foreign governments? What about FBI directors Robert Mueller stating on CNN they had no conclusive proof of the identity of those alleged hijackers? What about the stand down of air defense? Open it up here.
Computer data for Building 7, which is being held.
Right. Absolutely. I think that eventually the public, if this starts to filter out into the public, they're going to go online and start doing their own research, and guess what's going to come out? That there's this organization of over 2,300 architects and engineers who are experts in the building sciences, who have unbelievable credentials and experience in the building trade, and who have investigated the myth reports and have amassed this body of evidence, the physical evidence, which completely undermines the official story, the official narrative all these years. So all these things are possible for us, and by the way, regarding the 28 pages, what's in there too that Robert Graham and others have alluded to, that they could tell that there was planning of the 9/11 attacks that occurred over weeks, months, and years. And Andy, they know that there was activity going on around Florida, Sarasota, Florida, in other locations, Florida, as well as Herndon, Virginia, Jersey City, New Jersey, and there's a few other spots around the country that they want and actually have obtained FBI files on that are now going through a process in a Florida court. They're being read by a judge in Florida. 86,000 documents. That was a result of a Bob Graham's FOIA request. And out of this, Bob Graham is stating that they want to know what the FBI knew about these activities in these other locations around the country. Why? Because it just stands to reason that there's no way that these activities could have gone on with these alleged hijackers acting alone. Meaning that they had to have had handlers and undercover operators, which is all part of the pattern that we see going back to, JFK assassination, and also the pattern. This is the pattern of entrapment activities that has happened in various ports of domestic terrorist activities. There's the Lackawanna group up there in upstate New York, and other cases around the country where there's this pattern of FBI informants acting that were part of the entrapment scene. And this just happened recently with a guy who supposedly was going to launch an attack on the White House. Guess what? There was an FBI informant, which is a clear indication of collusion and incitement and instigation by factions here that are acting nefariously to do what? Instigate fear to keep this whole narrative of threat to America ongoing. Why is that? Because when there's a threat to national security, that then justifies and creates the pretense for the ongoing agenda for military expansion abroad, as well as the agenda for surveillance at home, and that's where we are as a country. So hopefully, not only the movement or the alternative research community, but hopefully beyond, will catch on to the potential here, and also the absolute necessity for us to wake up to what's actually happening here, and the actions that we need to take. So supporting the release of the 28 pages absolutely is integral to countering these forces that have created these conditions that we're living in today.
And as Les mentioned, once you wake up to a certain aspect of 9/11, you start waking up to other aspects of 9/11. So we kind of come in from on one side, and this issue comes in from the other side, but altogether, we come together in the center and come to an understanding of what really happened that day. We come one step closer towards getting a real investigation. And as people wake up to this, they will begin to wake up to the controlled demolition evidence that we've been talking about for years, and begin to realize that there's a lot to 9/11 that we didn't previously know. It's all about national security, all right? And we've, as a country, have let the people in the Bush administration, people in the Obama administration, which followed, which kind of the collective monster I personally call Obusha, hijack that excuse of national security, claim that they're working in the interests of national security. But really, keeping this stuff classified is not working in the interest of national security. We are the ones who are actually making our nation more safe by pushing for it. And so that's why these congressmen who are stepping out and raising the red flags and pushing this issue, that's why they need your support and why they need your help and to hear from you, and why your other congressmen need to hear from you also. So Les, one more time, what's the webpage and what do you want people to do as soon as they're done hearing this program?
Great. Yes, the webpage is simply hr14.org. It's all there, the overviews, and then there's a section called Take Action. And also, we hope that you'll get in touch with us to be informed of any future updates and news alerts. And by doing so, you'll help us to become part of a national movement, a voice here that shows that we are a constituency. And that's what's got to happen if we want government to live up to its principles and its standards and its promise. It's got to come from us. Folks, it's not going to come from any other movements out here. There are plenty good ones, but there are none that really address this this deep state activity, this agenda for, quote, full spectrum dominance and abroad and at home and in spaces. There's no other movement. It's got to come from us. And in so doing, and I just want to mention this, that what we're really attempting to accomplish here is what I would think is called a culture shift. Because ultimately, it's going to take a shift in our culture to take on something like 9/11 and really, really pursue it, go after it, and demand the truth. Given that, if we look at our history, when we've been lied to, as a country, we've been lied into many wars. We've been lied to about assassinations that have occurred, high-level assassinations in our country. We've been lied to about the economy. We've been lied to about our environment. We've been lied to about weapons of mass destruction, lied to about, the global, all kinds of global conditions affecting the U.S. And it's going to take a culture that doesn't tolerate this anymore. We get what we tolerate. It's going to take a culture that is willing to take on something as controversial and as monumental in scale as 9/11.
And we're going to have to end it there. We are out of time. But, folks, the website, again, is hr14.org. What you need to do is the simplest thing you could do. Les has made it easy for you. Just go there, take action. It takes only a few minutes. Doesn't cost you anything. And it gains you a lot. It gains you your country back. Les, thank you so much for coming on 9/11 Freefall. And we're going to keep everybody updated on what's going on with this effort. This program's on every Thursday night on No Lies Radio at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. You can also download MP3s of this show from the Internet Archive by going to 911freefall.com. This is Andy Steele saying have a great week and good luck.
The 9/11 Commission, which was tasked with giving us the fullest explanation. No, not one sentence in the 571 pages of the 9/11 Commission report even mentions the destruction of World Trade Center 7. Is this one of the reasons, perhaps, that Senator Max Klingland resigns from the commission, citing it's a national scandal? The investigation is compromised. How about expert corroboration? How about Danny Jawenko, 27-year controlled demolitions expert? It starts from below. They've simply blown away the columns. It's controlled demolition. A team of experts did this. It's professional work, without a doubt. How about Hugo Bachmann, Professor Emeritus, Chairman, Department of Structural Dynamics at Earthquake Engineering, Swiss Federal Institute of Technology? In my opinion, the building, World Trade Center 7, was with great probability professionally demolished. Here's a floor plan of Building 7. Now, to bring a building smoothly, symmetrically into its own footprint without falling over, what we have to do is remove the core columns, because what we want to do is bring the outside of the building in on itself. Now, this involves a high degree of precision that fire is not capable of, being an organic process.